Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach live podcast. As you can already tell, I am so excited to have my guest on the show today. I am with Ryab Demers, a client that we brought in just a few months ago, give or take. Ryan, when did you come on the program?
Late December.
Okay, so you've been with us a little bit. We got you into a deal relatively quickly, right? What is it, about a week, 10 days? How long did it take to get you into a deal?
Yeah, it was less than 2 weeks. It was really quick.
That's what I'm talking about, right? So I want to have him on the show because Ryan is here live. Ryan is based in Las Vegas, Nevada. So he came out here to see his project live to get a feel for what's going on. We've actually been in construction for how long now?
God, 3 to 4 weeks now.
3 to 4 weeks, okay.
Yeah.
So we went to see the property yesterday, right? Got a quick walkthrough of it. It's looking pretty good. Did you like it?
It did. It's better than it looks in pictures.
Excellent. Well, that's a relief because, I'm always like, oh, God, I hope he likes it. I hope he likes it. Right? So it did come out really nice. We're getting set to list the property. Today's show, guys, I'm so happy you guys are tuning in already because on today's show, we're going to talk about the process. When we had Ryan on the show before, we talked about the nervousness that naturally comes from joining a program like this and going through that. Now you're past kind of the nervousness phase. You bought a house pretty quick. The house is about to hit the market. And to really dial that in, we're going to bring Steve Pruitt, our team agent, onto the show today. Steve, what's up, man? How you doing? Oh, that's gonna be a problem.
Oh, it's okay.
Doing good. How are you guys?
Good. We're gonna tighten up here a little bit so you can see us a little bit better because you're taking up most of the screen because you are such a camera hog. It's just been always a problem. All right. So Steve, you're going to be listing the property here shortly. Would like to just dive right into the analysis side of this a little bit. When we picked up the home, let's talk about purchase numbers. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but we picked up this property for $275, all inclusive with your assignment fee and all that, right? What do we currently have into the remodeling budget right now? What have you spent thus far?
It's right around 41 to 42.
Okay, so 41 to 42,000 in. Let's just round up to 42. We go 275 plus 42. So that's going to put us at
17.
317. Thank you, guys. See, that's why I have a team here. I don't need to do calculations. I've got guys to do calculations for me. It's an important part of the process. Pay attention. Watch here. All right. So we are 317 into the property, and I remember when we bought the property, we did our thorough analysis. And guys, I want you to understand the analysis process in detail here. Okay. When my acquisition team finds a deal, Scott is the leader of our acquisition team. He puts the deal together. I'm still the primary analyst on the team. So I evaluate the deal and we come up with what we believe is going to be the sale price. I'm sharing that with you because I don't want people thinking that any of this is left to chance, right? This is not the stock market. This is not, we hope we're going to buy the asset at this price and sell it at this price in the future. We've got data to support that. And then once I've done my analyst, Steve, our very conservative side of the analyst, poo-poos on the entire concept, comes with an entirely different number that I generally don't like, right? And he comes up with a conservative side of it. I give him a lot of crap about it, but I like having that check and balance in the system because we don't want the system skewed by the analyst or the acquisition guy just trying to sell a property to a client. So we bring Steve in and he kind of fact checks the number. Steve, do you remember when we first got the property, what was the target price we were going for on sale when we first got the property? Do you remember what it was back then?
I believe it was 365 that we were going after. I think there's stuff in the area that is, selling higher than that with this house. It doesn't have a garage on it. And so that's one of those factors that I was certainly budgeting for. I think a little bit larger deficit of, if somebody would want to do something different with that down the road or different things. But we like to take all of those things into account on the front end when we're purchasing something so that, we don't get burned by that on the back end. So
I love that. One of the things I do remember, obviously, when we bought this property, we were in the fourth quarter, and I'm sure you'll echo this sentiment, Steve, but the fourth quarter was arguably one of the worst quarters we saw in a while from a sales angle. Sales were definitely down, things were lower. So I think we were budgeting more conservatively based on that because obviously we didn't know the future of that point. But how did you feel the fourth quarter numbers were compared to how they are today?
Yeah, definitely. I think we had a little slower traffic across the board, and we've still had relatively low inventory, both then and now. But certainly have seen some pickup in traffic since the beginning part of the year. I think some improvements in interest rates slightly has helped that some, and just a lot of people, following that normal cycle as we go into spring and summer of there being more activity in the marketplace. So, I like actually when we buy stuff in those cycles to where we're basing numbers on that a little bit more conservative, and they still make sense because that hopefully just gives them a chance to improve.
Let's hop back over to Ryan. So Ryan, you meet this fast talking dude via a Zoom call. For some strange reason, you managed to give him a bunch of money to invest in his coaching program.
I did.
Talk to me about the process of just real quickly finding me, vetting me for the process. Why did you decide to go with the program? What research did you do prior to signing up for the coaching?
Yeah, so research prior, I was looking at the market. Myself, I purchased a property. Interest rates have been so high, and I know that the interest rate has a direct impact on that mortgage payment. And I believe that since the rates are so high, those mortgage payments would create foreclosures in the future, unfortunately. And so I started looking at how can I be a better investor for single family residential, and where could I find maybe a niche of properties? Maybe I could educate myself a little bit more about a process, understand it better, and then become even more effective when that opportunity comes up. Because it wasn't present then, but it may become present in the near future.
Yes.
So I started looking online. I started just typing in foreclosure mentorship, foreclosure partnership, foreclosure coach. I saw a bunch of different options. But as I started vetting you, Donny, I started seeing kind of the credentials that you had. Just a couple flips,
just a couple hundred flips in a few years.
Yeah, no big deal. And then, of course,
NBD.
Yep. And then the Springs Health House and just a couple other things. And then I had already made the decision prior to getting on a call with you that I was going to be coached or mentored by somebody. And so I was just looking for somebody who had kind of the ability to fill in the gap of experience that I didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And so as I started talking with you, yes, you do talk fast, but I took that as more passion than anything else.
I'm a New Yorker. What do you want?
And I definitely wanted somebody that was a little bit more passionate, a little bit more high energy. I'm a little bit more neutral, I think. And so I think I wanted somebody that could bring me up, right? Because I look at just the numbers, and I wanted to be able to kind of experience the process as well.
Yes.
So as we started talking, you let me know what the program entailed, which is essentially the 5F process. We find it, then we figure it, then we fund it, then we fix it, which is where I'm at right now on the back half of the fixing process.
Yes.
And then the real estate team comes in, Steve and his team, and they flip it. And then I can stop right there. I can keep
going.
No,
let's jump in from that, because that I want to show. Yesterday we got Ryan flew into town from Vegas, picked him up at the airport. We hung out for a little bit, went and saw his property. I just want to show the picture of you in front of your house, because I think that's kind of a cool feature. I'd like this to be a little more presentable. There we go. And I'm going to share the screen so you guys can see it as well. In just a minute. Man, me and technology are just not getting it today. All right, here we go. Can I do that? Oh, present.
Share screen.
Share.
And then do window.
I think it's got to be the whole screen. Here we go. No.
Click on it. Click on the entire screen and then click that.
Okay, cool. All right, guys. So yesterday we were hanging out for a little bit. We went and saw the property. Here Ryan is.
There it is.
There we go. All right. So property's at 3607 Lehigh. You look very happy. That's a good sign, after you bought a house. Because if your face was more of a frowny face right now, it's like, yeah, it's not a good time for you to be unhappy. But I think it came out pretty nice, So we got an opportunity to take a look at the property. We walked through it. Now, like you said, we've gone through the 4F process. The stage we have found the house, obviously. We have analyzed the house thoroughly before we purchase the property. We don't leave that to chance. We have fixed the house to current market standards. It's looking pretty good right now. The next step in the process is just going to be going ahead and flipping the house. So this is where Steve comes back in. He starts assisting us with flipping it. But it sounds like you've got some good news, because the market has changed a bit trend-wise since the fourth quarter, Steve, right? Are we trending upwards since he purchased the house back in December?
Yeah, I think certainly trending a little bit upwards. And, with a home like this, we're similar size to a lot of stuff in the surrounding neighborhoods. Like I said, it doesn't have an attached garage. And so that's one of those things that, there are houses similar size to this that are selling up in the, 385 to 400 range that have attached garages and different stuff. And so certainly, in analyzing those numbers now, I think we're certainly looking more at the 370 to 375 range that, we'd be going on the market with this. And so, one of the conversations that I'll always be having, with Ryan or any of the clients is, looking at showing traffic reports for the area, for the zip code and everything, and seeing is there any advantages to pricing within one price bracket or another. When I looked at that this morning, certainly things 375 to 380 were averaging a little over 9 showings per listing in their time on the market. Things slightly below that, maybe a little higher, up to like 11 showings per listing.
That's awesome.
So, that's always going to be something that, typically you'd see, as you get a little lower in price, a little bit higher showing traffic. But, to me, we're going to always look at that, and we're going to look at that on a weekly basis as we go on the market of, are we having the amount of traffic that we need to in comparison to other things on the market? So I think one thing that's been really prevalent across a lot of markets this last year is just, if a house doesn't sell, lower the price. We're always going to try to bring, Ryan and any of our clients the advice of, let's look at and see if we're having the adequate amount of traffic for the price point we're at. And if so, that means that, we're probably priced in an appropriate range. And sometimes that just means a little bit more patience in terms of time that things are selling currently. If we're not experiencing the traffic level that we would expect or that the competition is getting, that's where we need to look at either improving price or condition. Most of the time when you've redone most everything in this house, we can't improve condition any further. And so then that's a matter of looking at price. But to me, though, there's a direct correlation between, how we price and level of activity, and when we make any recommendations for price reductions, so that, we're not being premature with that, or just, lowering price consistently just to move something, really quickly, because there's always a fine balance between the timing you have it on the market and what you're netting.
And I love that. And what you're discussing, obviously, is pricing strategy. And a lot of, with respect to other agents out there, a lot of agents are not really doing that. Like the comparative market analysis training that comes with the agent licensing is almost non-existent. But you look at the ability to really analyze the market at the level that you can analyze the market, Steve, having been here for over 20 years in the business and as many transactions as you've done. And I really feel like having the pricing strategy, even if I sometimes disagree with the conservative nature of it, it seems to work, right? I mean, I think that we're not trying to sell it in 2 days. Obviously, if it sells in 2 days, you'll be super happy.
Yeah,
you make it, but the problem with that is it means you're generally leaving money on the table. But this analysis strategy that you're describing, how many days on market is generally the target. I know we can't hit that exactly, but if you could pick a date, Ryan, how many days do you want it to sell in, ideally?
Realistically, so I can get the most possible capital and return of investment as quickly as possible, I would say 15 to 30 days on market is my expectation. Steve, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think right now the pace of the market, that 30-day mark is something that we want to, be shooting for. I definitely think, with where we'll price at, we should be able to accomplish that within that time frame. And if we're starting to exceed that, that's where we need to look at and say, how are we really comparing to the other things that are on the market? So
right.
I think right now, because buyers no longer have the sense of urgency or need to make a decision in an hour,
right,
to like they did a year ago, it's certainly leading to an environment where a lot of times people are visiting a house 2 or 3 times, taking a little bit more time to make a decision, and there's still relatively limited inventory. So sometimes that time delay is even, hey, we like this, it's not exactly perfect for us, let's see what comes on the market coming into next weekend, or different things, and where people will come back and revisit something after a couple of weeks, even if they liked it to begin with and, saw it day one on market. So I just think the sense of urgency in the market isn't as extreme as it was. I do think that is actually a positive thing in the sense that we've seen
Yeah.
less contracts falling out of contract
Yes.
just because of buyer's remorse when they've pulled the trigger on something and then changed their mind 24 hours later. So I think there's a healthy balance in that to the market to where we want somebody to vet that in making that decision. So.
Yeah, and analysis is never fun. I think it's an important thing to note that, when you're going through this phase, when people are first buying a house, the problem with the whole coaching thing that I have determined is these darn flipping shows. Annie's flipped this house, is taking this really ugly property, and in 30 minutes you got this gorgeous property, and look, it sold it in an hour and a half. We made $87,000, right? None of these reality TV shows, guys, are actually based on reality. This is the work of actually doing fix and flips. Now, the upside of doing that work, if you have the right team, right, is that it's super lucrative. It can pay very well. Just like any other investment vehicle, though, there's a set of risk, but that risk is very much mitigated by bringing on Steve as an analyst on the team. Burke is a project manager to make sure the house is getting done, right? Mike is the funding manager to make sure your loans are lined up. What was your experience getting to this point? How did you feel the team did overall? In getting you to this point of the process?
Yeah, it was really comforting to know that every step of the process, every F, had a subject matter expert and the coach behind them. So it was a 3 people at minimum working together to make sure that element of the deal or the process was fine-tuned. It was moving as fast as it possibly could without cutting corners, because you definitely don't want to go too fast, trip and stumble. And I didn't get that feeling. And it just made sure that everything was going as smooth as possible, which is something that I was looking for peace of mind. I wanted to be able to get into real estate investing while mitigating my risk as much as possible, having a proven system and people along the way that are subject matter experts in their respective field, whether it's finding it, figuring it, funding it, fixing it, or, flipping it. And it really gave me the sense of calm that I needed to pull the trigger. And it's why you and I are working together and why I flew out to Colorado Springs. And hopefully there's going to be some more evolutions, and there will be. This is the first of many projects with you guys.
I'm really excited about that. And that is the idea, guys. Remember, the goal here is not just to do one deal and hope that it works out, but because the team is so dialed in, the goal is for every client, not just Ryan, but every client coming in to do as many flips as they want, with a general average of 4 properties per year and an average profit of $25,000. Here we are, Steve. We're looking at maybe going $10,000 above our original target price. Obviously, that should translate into more profit, but I do think we're slightly ahead of the budget expectation on the rehab, right? I mean, we had a number in the 35 to 36 bracket. We're closer to 41 right now. So we spent a little more, but the good news is our conservative estimates now allowing us to sell it for a little more. What gotchas do you think we should be looking for, Steve, in the market as we list this? Is there any special considerations? You mentioned the garage, a lack of garage, a couple of times. Are there any other things that you're going to be looking out for as you get this property listed? And when do you think we'll get it on the market?
I think, as soon as finishing touches are done, we'll do all the photography, video, 3D tours, all the different things that, help give it the best presentation to the market to get the maximum visibility. So I would think we could be on the market here, within the next couple days, as soon as some of those finishing touches are put on. And so really, we try to turn things over and have a lot of things in-house so that we can turn stuff quickly when you're finishing up a project. So we're not, booking a week out to get things live once you have things ready to go. So, no, I mean, I think in the pricing, we're accounting for things like it not having a garage or different factors like that. So I, really feel confident on pricing strategy of where we're taking this back to market, and I think that market sub 400 is one of those things that things are still moving well. There's good traffic in. I definitely think and this has been the case kind of from our initial pricing until now. Some buyers are looking for help with concessions and closing costs and different things there. And so that's usually where, when I'm looking at these ranges of where we could go on the market, we usually do want to try, to the high end of that range for the first week or two, so that we can, do some of those things for a buyer if they need them or want them. And then if we have to make price changes or adjustments to encourage an offer, a lot of times we'll revisit that with, the buyer when they make an offer of, here's what we can do in terms of that stuff at our current price point. So sometimes, lowering things in the marketplace, a buyer will come in, need concessions, and we may be able to build some of that back in above that, current advertised listing price there. When we've got good solid data to support, for an appraisal to make sure that we can close at that. So I always think there's two prices for a house in the market. One is an advertising and marketing price, and the other is the appraised value. And those are always two things that we're looking at, both of those factors, to make sure that we're positioning correctly for what's active and under contract in the marketplace. And then what, sales do we have to support that? Because, we don't want to have you go under contract, even if a buyer comes in and says, hey, I'll go 15,000 over your asking price, give me 25,000 in concessions to pay off some debt and do a rate buy down and different things. If we can't support that, appraisal price, we don't want to have you go under contract, even if that nets you the same number. We always want to be conscious of, getting us under contract with something that can actually close, not just the highest number possible there if it's not something that we feel we can support on data, or have you prepared that at appraisal time, we may be bringing that price back down if we're testing that and seeing what an appraisal would dictate in the market.
I love it, Steve. We won't keep any more of your time. I know you got a lot to do. I really appreciate you tuning in today. I'm going to wrap up with Ryan here just a little bit. Thank you so much. We're super excited to get this listed, get this on the market, get it sold, and hoping we get this done quickly and get on to the next one.
Sounds good. Thanks for your time. And
bye now. Yeah, well, there you have it, guys. I want to wrap up with Ryan here a little bit, but the idea behind building a team of people, including Steve is what it would be known as a real estate quant. And in the securities industry, a quant is defined. You ever see that show Billions, right? Where there's the chick who doesn't have the hair, and her hair's all cut off. You ever watch Billions?
Not yet.
Oh, you got to check that show. Great show. So it's about investment bankers. They trade all day. Well, the quants are the people who can analyze a copious amount of market data, compress that into usable stuff, and then make recommendations on that. Well, there's a lot of people who are in the real estate industry. There's only a small percentage of them that will be considered quants. So one of the benefits you get on joining the team here is that you're getting the benefit of Steve's very extensive analysis skills to make the right pricing decisions. Now that you're through the first 4 Fs, we don't want to hit the market and make the 5th F a flop.
Nope.
So there's an F.
Good.
Thank you. I've been working on that one for a while. Okay. So rather than flopping on the flip side, it's going to get old real quick.
That's a good hashtag. Don't flop the flip.
Don't flop the flip.
There you go. I like it.
We are now going to start visiting this from an angle of before we bought it, we had a number 365. We've done our work. Steve's done his analysis. The market has trended upwards. We're now looking more to 375 price. Should translate to some additional profit in your bottom line. But the real issue is that the system worked. Yeah. Right. You bought a house sight unseen. You funded the house sight unseen. You got the house fixed sight unseen. That's the toughest part of the process. And now we're about to sell the property at an accurate price. It's actually more than we originally estimated. So I think that's pretty awesome. What thoughts do you have about the process? Obviously, a lot of people are watching here. They're worried about whether they want to get into coaching, whether this whole thing is legit. What thoughts would you give them about signing up for coaching and how this whole process worked for you?
I think the hardest thing that you as a person have to become comfortable with is being uncomfortable. Doing a lot of this stuff requires some of that tenacity, that emotional grit, that resilience. It's just par for the course. You have to have that level of, you have to have just a little bit of, not crazy, but
crazy helps.
Okay. Yeah. A little bit crazy. But the fact that you have a team of subject matter experts for every stage of the process to guide and provide recommendations. You have a machine, Donny.
Thank you.
That essentially you put your clients into the machine and it spits out likely profitable fix and flips. We can't guarantee anything because, nobody
has how investing works.
Correct.
Right?
But what we do is we mitigate the risk. We do as much information analysis as we can so that we can make educated decisions, whether this is a good deal, not a good deal. They make the recommendations to you as a client. You learn along the way. Even if we don't hit the 25K that we're looking for, the fact that I've been exposed to the process, I've gained knowledge, I've expanded my network, I've come to Colorado for the first time in my life.
Excellent.
I've become even more well-rounded as a real estate investor. And I'm starting the path from newbie to mildly experienced, and hopefully I'll gain that experience years from now.
Yeah.
And it all starts with the first step. And sometimes that's the hardest one, but it's just one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
Trust the process, trust the people. I did. And then I'm sure, hopefully, I'll be on the show a third time, and maybe I'll show you guys like a check.
You got to come back. I want to see. I want to see the HUD statement. I want you to come back. I want to show off your big check, maybe the Ferrari you bought with it. I mean, you're not gonna make enough to buy a Ferrari, but like if you do, I want to borrow. Can I borrow the car?
You could, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. You're in Vegas. So I'm coming out. I'm going to come out and see you next time. So, yeah, I appreciate that. And it's not really just about tooting the system's horn, but rather understanding that it is a process. Like I don't think at any point we deliver the messaging this was going to be fun or easy. Right. And it's not like this is hard and, we're not, it's a different level of hard. It's a brain hard.
It is a mental.
It's a mental game.
Absolutely.
Right. So people get into this thinking it's going to be super simple. There's a process to it. But like you said, my team, my subject matter experts in the whole area are guiding you through that process. So A, you're doing a profitable deal, and B, you are learning the process, getting more advanced at each of the F's. So at some point you're doing deals completely on your own. There's a benefit to both sides of that, right? And that's really how the program was designed. It's really starting to take off. Obviously, we are now looking, because you're a client, because of the interest level, at doing deals in the Nevada market as well. Not just for you, because we're going to find you a ton of deals, but ideally for the clientele overall. As we expand this program, we want to be in different states, giving us some more diversification, so we're not fully dependent on the Colorado market. But you being out of market have done a deal here, so the truth of the matter is anybody anywhere can buy deals here in the Colorado market with this system. The issue is that you got to trust the process, trust this team, sign up for the coaching, and get going. So that really is it, guys. I mean, I'm excited to have you here. It was a pleasure to meet you. This has been amazing. Thanks for coming out. It's amazing. We're going to have you back on the show when we wrap up and get the house done, show off that HUD statement, how much money you made on the deal. But guys, it really is not about the individual profit on the deal. The idea is that you build a profit center in part of your investing journey that's throwing off $20,000 to $25,000 per deal consistently, ideally doing 4 deals a year. And then you're taking that money and you're reinvesting in other assets that throw off capital, ideally with a little less brain drain than the fix and flip market, right? And that's the objective. And that's an easier said than done thing, right? But you first have to produce the capital, not the hard way, but like a farmer, right? You got to first you got to plow the field, put the seeds in the ground. That's a hard part of the process of building wealth. Once that machine is running and you're starting to grow crops, it gets much easier. Where people struggle is this hard part in getting started. And the very essence of the coaching program is taking you from that state of inaction and fear and concern and worry to doing your first deal. Here you are on the back end of doing your first deal. We're going to hit the market, get it sold, make you some money, and move on to the next one. I am so excited for you. Thank you so much for joining the program. We're excited. Any parting thoughts, Ryan, before we wrap up for the day?
Take the first step. I mean, that it is the hardest thing that you have to do. But if you're truly interested in becoming a real estate investor or expanding your knowledge, maybe you're already in real estate, but you want to look at single family, or you want to look at fixing and flipping, you want to diversify your portfolio, take the first step. Work with somebody that's done it, a couple times and has a whole team behind him that work together. I've actually been on a couple of their internal calls. Their calls are synced. Strategies there, the agenda is laid out. They talk about each deal, where each deal is at in the process, and then also what's next in the process. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that even the student's not involved in, because we want the student to have as much of a curated, streamlined process as we possibly can. Nothing's perfect, but this is pretty dang good.
Thank you.
It really is.
And we've been improving it, really the last year has been all about improving the client experience. Because guys, I want to be honest with you, like we learned a lot from our errors. We have some clients in the early on. I hope some of you were watching that there was some stuff we were very early on that we didn't know the client needed to get the success rate that we needed, but we've implemented those systems. The system's way more streamlined today than it was 6 months ago. And I'm so excited about what it's going to be 12 months from today, as long as we keep advancing that. But the goal stays the same: building wealth through the passive investment of real estate investing tools, so you get the time, location, and financial freedom that everybody's looking for through real estate investing. We can certainly help you with that task as well. You just got to take the first step, like he said. So with that, reach out to me, slide up in my DMs. Let's talk about whether coaching's the right fit, the right suitable investment for you. Once again, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Coming out. It was a pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to doing multiple deals from this point, making a ton, and I mean a ton of money together. This is the beginning phase of a beautiful relationship, so I appreciate it.
Sounds good, man. Yeah.
With that, this is Donny Coram, your foreclosure deals coach. Thanking you so much for tuning in to this live broadcast of Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast, and reminding you want to join me on this one? Now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal. Thanks, guys.